Recently, Six Flags and Cedar Point merged, and seemingly coming out of that are some new content creator guidelines that are a bit iffy and interesting, if I'm being honest, in terms of how content creators can cover their parks. And there is some reaction to this, mostly negative. And we're going to go over what these new content guidelines are, and if we think this may be going beyond just these parks, or if these are going to eventually be changed a bit. So, hi, I'm Jared, the Captain of the Magic, and this is actually over on Twitter, and this is from parkfans.net, and they say, WTF, what are these new Six Flags content creator guidelines? Want to cover their parks? No construction photos, no public records coverage, and you can't say anything they don't like about any Six Flags property. It says officially, can't trust in the takes of anyone on the Six Flags media list now. So let's go through these and see if I agree with this. So, content creator guidelines says that King's Domain, and these were a different one. So this merges. There's another one that was at, I think Worlds of Fun was another one, but they're all pretty similar in this way. So it says at King's Dominion, we're happy to work with content creators who support our park values and are excited to help tell our story. However, we will not work with influencers, I hate that word, whose content or personal activity first does not support our park values. They say integrity, courtesy, inclusiveness, safety, cleanliness, service, and cleanliness. I mean, it's vague. I mean, I understand what they're getting at a bit, but you'll notice with a lot of these things too, they're meant to be vague on purpose because it gives them sort of leeway to just do things, because technicalities people can get inside about it. You know, technically I didn't break this rule, or on technicalities they leave things a little vague. So that one's a bit iffy because again, what are your park values? And like they list them here, but do they go further than that? Like what do they mean by when they say courtesy, safety, things like that? Bullies, harasses, or discriminates against other people or associates online or in the park. Okay. Shows behind the scenes or restricted areas without park approval. I mean, I'm guessing that would be like drones and things like that, like construction pictures, which, Universal Studios, Epic Universe, they don't seem to care about that. But I suppose that's just a company by company thing. I understand on some level, I get. Shares park insider information, including but not limited to photos, video, documents, or details about future events/attractions without park approval. I guess I would just like, what is park insider info? Like, if you find something online, are you not allowed to talk about it? Like, some of these are, again, they're very vague. And most theme parks don't ever talk about this stuff. I mean, rumors are a part of enjoying, if you're a content creator, it's part of like theme parks. Like there's rumors about what Disney World's going to do, or Universal Studios, or whoever. And on some level, it actually helps the parks because it builds up anticipation, and people like rumors. Same thing with like movies and shows and things. Like people like rumors and see if they come true and stuff. So that one, I guess I would just question what technically is park insider info there. It says actively spreads misinformation about company policies, programs, or associates. Again, what would be considered misinformation? Like, obviously, if you're just lying about things, that's different. But like, what is considered misinformation in their eyes? Like, are they saying just stuff that they don't like being said? If there's some policy that they don't like, if they talk about they don't like it, is that considered misinformation? Like, again, when you're using some of these terms, it's so vague that it just seems prohibitive on purpose, because it's like, well, I don't want to potentially run into a problem here. But that one to me seems a little like, obviously flat out lying about something is not good, but using the term misinformation about certain things, at least in my mind, seems a bit interesting. Violates park safety rules, code of conduct, and creator guidelines. Okay, that one's obvious. Includes copyright infringement and or unauthorized use of Six Flags intellectual property. Makes sense. Now, this is the one I think is probably the one that's the most eye-opening. Portrays the park or any other Six Flags park in an inappropriate manner. What does that mean? What is inappropriate manner? Is it just if somebody goes to Six Flags and they critique your park? Is that inappropriate? If they leave a bad review, like, what is considered inappropriate? Like, that's a very strange, these other ones, some of these in here and these other ones, I'll even say, like, I don't know about that. But this one here portrays the park or any other Six Flags park in an inappropriate manner. I guess I would ask for clarification if I was a content creator for Six Flags here of what is an inappropriate manner. Like, what do you consider inappropriate? Like harsh criticism? Like, what does that mean? Because it's so vague that it basically can mean just about anything. And really the thing about this that content creators, while there are some who go, obviously in anything, there are ones that go too far and doing crazy things and getting kicked out of parks. That's not something you want, obviously, and I would completely agree with that. But at the same time, people who are creating content for a theme park are essentially free advertising for the theme park. Like, sure, the content creator can gain a following and they can make money through YouTube and other means by covering that theme park because there's interest in it. But at the same time, the theme park themselves are not, now, unless I'm unaware of most of this, but usually they're not being paid by the theme park to do these things. But at the same time, I don't know why you would be so combative with potential content creators that are actually helping you promote and advertise your theme parks. And then at the same time, seemingly again with this portraying the park in an inappropriate manner, like, are you basically trying to set up a situation where you can't critique them? Because then, as I've made the argument a lot of times with, like, say, the Disney stuff, if you're on the media list, not everybody, but a lot of them won't criticize Disney. Can you really believe that outlet? Because, like, well, if they say something bad, are they going to be off that media list? So then it brings into question, well, okay, with this new policy, are they being truthful in their content? Because if they can't say anything bad, then are they telling me the truth? That brings that into question as well. And when we're talking about people who view this differently, over here at Park Journey, they say on this part of the new guidelines that say portrays the park or any other Six Flags park in an inappropriate manner. They say, I'm not reading this as don't criticize at all. Constructive criticism is what we should all be going for anyway. I guess my question would be, they're obviously saying, well, constructive criticism is good, but if they're essentially saying here that you can't be like overly critical, like, if we'll accept constructive criticism, but we're not going to just accept you essentially, like, let's say you have a bad experience and you just trash us and say it's bad. I still feel like that's pretty you're basically trying to silence people into not criticizing your parks. You're basically trying to mold a viewpoint of your parks through these content creators by basically having this out there and saying you better be careful about what you say, because if we deem it inappropriate, we may whatever the enforcement of this is, whether we take you off a media list or we ban you from the park. I don't really know what their enforcement of this is, but I think they're still out there. They're putting this language out there to dissuade people from basically leaving critical reviews and critical videos, in my opinion. And typically speaking, in today's world of social media and the internet, like, these things don't tend to go well. Like, when you try and control a group of people's opinions and thinking that you're going to, force them in one viewpoint or another, this doesn't go well. I think we've seen this play out enough time now on the internet. Like, you're just going to end up getting a backlash towards you. And I can't really say that Six Flags has again, I'm speaking from the outside in. I don't view them as like a top tier theme park in terms of you thinking of like Disney Worlds and Universal Studios, even like Dollywood, Silver Dollar Cities. Like, I view them below those. So I feel like this is a way of them trying to, like, either repair or build up a certain reputation. And I don't think this is the way to go about it. I think if people have criticisms and they have an experience in your parks, instead of what many do, Disney, which is trying to basically say, no, you're wrong. Our way is the best way, and not listening to that criticism. I think you should be willing to listen to it and make changes as is needed to have a better guest experience. Because at the end of the day, content creators a lot of times are telling people, hey, I enjoyed this. This is worth your time and money to go do, or this is not. This is why people watch content creators. Obviously, they're fans of things that they cover and the people, but they also are watching to be like, how do they visit the parks? What do they do? Is this thing a good thing? Is this thing a bad thing? Is this food good? So when if a content creator has a criticism of something, I think you should be willing to look at it. Now, you can disagree with it, but I think at the same time, you should be willing to look at this and take criticism. And, at the end of the day, if you deem it that you don't think the criticism is valid, then that's fine. But at the same time, to basically try and silence that criticism, I don't think that's the way to go about it. And parkfans.net goes on to say, merger is already going great, guys. This new monopolistic mega corporation is already using their countrywide influence to throw their weight around with the goal of silencing any and all journalism and or criticism about their properties. I mean, it would not be the first time, nor will it be the last time that a major corporation makes a policy or decisions that are out of touch and seemingly, again, sound good in a boardroom, but don't really work that well out in the real world. So I don't we don't cover Six Flags unless something were to happen or a big story come out of it. But like, I haven't been to Six Flags in, I think I was a teenager the last time I was at a Six Flags. And I know the merge with Cedar Point now. I've never been to Cedar Point. So these things don't directly affect anything that we typically cover here. But at the same time, if these things start rolling out, like, I'm just interested in terms of like, do people get banned from the park if they say something bad? Or are they just off the media list? I guess that would be another clarification here. But this is something, I've seen a lot of reaction to this. Now, some people are okay with this. And obviously you're going to have people on both sides there. But then as somebody who just looking from the outside in, this seems pretty overly aggressive, I would say. And some of the language, I think, is maybe not aggressive is the term, but the language being used here is very vague. And I feel like it's vague on purpose, because if you keep it vague, it gives them the ability that, let's say there's a content creator that says something that, has a pretty big following. They go to one of your parks, they don't have a good experience, and they, leave a bad review, or they say, hey, I didn't enjoy this. It's vague enough where they could potentially go after them if they say on the media list or whatever, to where they could say, yeah, but this falls into representing us in an inappropriate manner. Those are the things that a lot of times are left vague for those reasons, to give them wiggle room and ability to kind of use rules how they see fit at times. But overall, can't say I'm a big fan of this. I guess we'll look and wait and see if this gets changed or how this goes forward, if it's enforced anywhere. I guess the time will tell if they do keep this in these rules in here, and if they're used on people or anything like that. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. But that is going to be it for this video. If you like this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, as we typically cover a lot of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, theme park news, and pop culture things around here. And let us know in the comments what you think about these new rules. Do you think they're pretty reasonable, or do you think that they're a little vague or overly targeting certain viewpoints? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.